global rebalance. India's top world watcher takes you to the front lines of the global high table with top minds from politics and business for the biggest global brainstorm, live and exclusive coverage. Only on India Today TV.
На день рождения зажелаешь желание или на Новый год, чтобы быстрее эта война закончилась. Я думаю, что она, не сразу закончится, но чуть-чуть, там, пару недель пройдет и закончится. Я так думаю.
Ну да, если звучит сирена, сразу спускаться вниз. Если слышишь выстрел, тоже лучше спускаться вниз. Если, вышел на улицу, например, да, вот ты идешь домой, например, да, слышишь выстрелы, лучше либо спуститься вниз, либо уже идти домой и быть в коридоре. Это два безопасных места, более-менее.
Первых взрывов я не слышал, просто проснулся из-за того, что мама говорит: сынок, у нас война. Первые мои ощущения, я не знал, что мы будем делать. Мы будем или куда-то уезжать, я не знал, есть ли у нас какое-то тут ближайшее бомбоубежище или что-то по типу того. Особо я не хотел никуда не уезжать, ни в другой город, ни в страну. Я хотел быть здесь, никуда не уезжать. Да.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
History is at a turning point, from the war in Ukraine to the climate and food crisis. From the much-wanted metaverse to unstable cryptocurrencies, get a ringside view to the ideas and challenges that are shaping the post-pandemic world. Catch me all through this week on India Today and Business Today as I bring you all the latest from a World Economic Forum that's being held this time in summer in Davos.
Presented by Aditya Birla Group, Big in Your Life. Co-powered by only OLX Autos gives the best price for your car.
Co-powered by NetMeds, India की अपनी pharmacy.
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Let's take a look at the top business stories. Business Today is on location at Davos. Get your daily fix of the latest from the World Economic Forum this entire week. Exclusive interviews with the most influential policymakers, top thought and corporate leaders on India Today TV. 2 days after a centre reduces excise on fuel, Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri lobs the ball in state courts. Says the states now need to reduce VAT to relieve the pressure on the common man. Tells Business Today TV that OMCs are not Sarkari companies, but responsible corporate citizens. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets over 30 top Japanese CEOs on the first day of his Tokyo visit, has one-to-one interactions with the leadership of Suzuki, SoftBank, Uniqlo and NEC Corporation. Tomorrow he attends the Quad Summit. Markets wipe off all gains. Sensex Nifty end marginally lower amid volatility. Auto stocks rally while metals pack bleeds as government imposes export duties. DRDO Labs submits the much-awaited report on e-scooters bursting into flames. Sources say poor quality batteries to blame for the incident. Government summons and seeks explanation from EV manufacturers. Let's start with the big exclusive from Davos. 2 days after Centre reduces excise on fuel, Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri lobs the ball in state courts. In an exclusive conversation with Business Today's managing editor, Puri says the states now need to reduce VAT to relieve the pressure on the common man.
It's perhaps a coincidence that we didn't know that we would be chatting to you just 24 hours after a significant cut in additional excise duty by the government and the consequent reduction in oil prices, petroleum and diesel. Your first thoughts as to the reason it happened now and what it really means from a price perspective?
First of all, it's not a standalone decision. मैं आपको याद करवाना चाह रहा हूं कि November 4 तारीख को the first petrol and diesel excise cut took place. You remember 5 rupees and 10 rupees petrol and diesel excise was cut. It was a decision taken by the government, by the Prime Minister in particular, who has been personally monitoring the very difficult terrain through which we are having to navigate. Despite the financial costs involved, the Prime Minister decided, and that is the decision you are referring to yesterday, to reduce the excise on both petrol and diesel.
What would you say, sir, should be our policy towards this?
These are private entities. I am in no position to tell them that you have to stop this thing. You know, they are watching the situation. Now, after all, it's in their interest also that the markets remain stable, because ultimately, for a while, they may not be able to pass on do the full recovery because they're making money on refining margins or petrochemical. But some of these are Fortune 500 companies and they're highly respectable. So they are in a situation where they will watch the situation, and as responsible citizens, there may come a time where they may suddenly start. I don't know. But today, we are in the situation where the government is assuming its responsibility for excise cut. I'm hoping the state governments will reduce their ad valorem VAT, and all the other players will play so that there is energy security, availability of energy and affordability.
My final question, as a former member and a stellar one at that of the Indian Foreign Service representing India, along with other cabinet colleagues at the world's largest gathering of the business elite and the political elite, what's the message that you are hearing from people about India, having navigated the pandemic, having done pretty decently well to manage?
It's not the message what I'm hearing here. Today, thanks to media organizations like yourselves, thanks to the fact that we are integrated, that news travels through different channels and mediums with breakneck speed, India is a good story. India is a good story for 3-4 major reasons. That it was able to face the challenges of a very basic existential nature during the pandemic. Our healthcare sector was in neglect. हमारी सरकार बनने से पहले जो हमारी पब्लिक सेक्टर में वैक्सीन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेसिटी थी पब्लिक सेक्टर, उसको हमने बंद करवा दिया. तो कोई जरूरत नहीं. We were not only able to manufacture a domestic vaccine. One of our companies, which is using research done at Oxford University and, patented by AstraZeneca, they've done well. A pure Indian company has done exceptionally well. And today, your vaccine has efficacy. I don't want to point you in the direction of countries which became vaccine producers and the talk is कि 38% उनकी vaccine efficacy है या वहां पे उसके consequences हुए, मेरा वो काम नहीं। दुनिया भर से there is undiluted appreciation, a little bit of envy also, I would say, that India was able to manage not only its healthcare system, but on so many other respects. Our foreign direct investment, देखिए जो अभी latest figures आए हैं, $84 billion. What was the foreign direct investment coming in 2004? $4 billion. 20 गुना. You look at the unicorns. You used to produce one unicorn. अभी वो कितना पिछले साल 43 unicorn. I mean, I forget the figure. I was speaking in Bangalore yesterday, and I gave some figure that the expectation this year there'll be 50. You know, I mean, I hope people know what a unicorn is. I mean, somebody asked me a question which I was slightly taken aback, and I said, look, this shows that innovation and entrepreneurial skills and talent are at a premium. And you don't become a unicorn because you and I like each other or, you know, we're in. I mean, there is a global financial dimension where the support comes. And, United States, the lead economy in the world, $20 trillion, 18-20 जितना भी होगा. आप देखिए वहां स्थिति क्या है. Highest levels of inflation in 50 years. UK, जिनका हमारा 190 साल का संबंध रहा है जिनके साथ, steepest decline in living standards since the Second World War. Another economy, second largest in the world. Very high inflation. Second largest economy in the world. अब नाम नहीं लेता हूं, $12 trillion की. Cities in total closed down. तो ऐसा है कि इसमें मुझे या आपको narrative नहीं बनाना है. The very fact that various sectors, मुझे तो जितने sectors के साथ जानकारी है, civil aviation is back. हमारे इस महामारी के पहले 4,20,000 पैसेंजर होते थे दिन में. यू आर बैक टू दैट लेवल. मैं आपको फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात ऑलरेडी कर दी है. मैं कई और में ऑयल एंड एनर्जी, आई कैन टेल यू, लुक एट व्हाट वी हैव डन इन द लास्ट फ्यू मंथ्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्लीन एनर्जी, बायोफ्यूल्स. 2030 का टारगेट था हमारा 20% ब्लेंडिंग का, उसको हम 2025 तक ले आए. हम सोच भी नहीं सकते थे कि 10% ब्लेंडिंग होगी. पिछले 3 महीने में every day we were doing 10%. That's why this average came up to, for the year, came up to 9.8.
And people don't realize that it's not just Russian oil that is being blended. It is ethanol.
Not Russian oil भी. देखिए आप political आप कुछ भी कह सकते हैं. अब मुझे एक बात बताइए, कहीं भी हो आप, तेल is not a person जिसके पे छाप लगा होता है. पता है कहीं तेल निकलता है कहीं से. Place X, right? There are different kinds of, some have high sulfur content, some don't. There people buy, a ship goes from here to there. But how can I tell you, पिछले साल हमने जो financial year है, हमारे total imports were 0.2% of our total imports. उसका कारण है, उसकी geographical कारण है, कि आपको अगर आपके देश के neighborhood में तेल मिलेगा तो वहां से खरीदोगे. पर अगर आपको खरीदना पड़ेगा तो लोग खरीदेंगे. देखिए इसमें कोई हेजिटेशन नहीं है. सो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज बायोफ्यूल्स, एक्सप्लोरेशन एंड प्रोडक्शन, ईएनपी, वी आर रेजिंग इट फ्रॉम, कितने हमारे सेडिमेंट्री बेसिन है, 26 है, 7-8 थे, मैंने पूरे सब में ले जा रहे हैं. इफ आई हैव माय वे, देयर विल बी अ वेल इन एवरी बैकयार्ड, including yours and mine.
It's a flurry of exclusives from Davos. Puneet Ranjan, global CEO of Deloitte, is bullish on India in an exclusive conversation with Business Today TV. Ranjan says this is India's century. The company also plans to add another 75,000 individuals to its existing pool of professionals in India. Listen in.
We've seen a lot of transformation in the last 10 years. We've seen financial stress, as elsewhere in the globe, particularly in the Indian context. How are Indian companies changing with the shifts and transformations that are being driven by technology? The big debate in India is the big companies, organized companies growing at while the smaller informal sector is suffering because they are not competitive enough.
Well, if you walk around the promenade in Davos, the thing that struck me was the number of Indian companies that have pop-up stores along the promenade. I don't think in the 7 years that I've been coming, I haven't seen this level of Indian representation here at Davos.
That's a key point to hear from the Deloitte global CEO. Go ahead.
The other thing is the number of states You've got Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu,
Telangana.
and of course India House. Yesterday I was walking down the promenade. I smelled samosas in Davos. India House.
Okay.
So I think India is really...
Do you miss your home state of Haryana, if I may ask?
Absolutely. I think Haryana should be here.
Okay. That's a message we'll try and get to Mr. Khattar for sure.
Absolutely. Chief Minister ji, idhar aao. What was your question again?
I was talking about how do companies in India see this shift, because you consult with so many of them. How are they changing? Because it's not just the top 50 or 100 Indian companies. The vast amount of Indian employment happens still in the informal sector.
That is true. But I think, look at India, the number of startups that you have, it's second, I believe, to the United States. The number of unicorns, I think, is second to the United States. So I believe that the larger companies certainly are becoming global entities. Many of the Tata companies, as for instance, and some of the startups are making some innovative investments and innovative products. I'm very bullish on India. I've said this multiple times. I believe this is India's century. I think what has happened in the last number of months with Ukraine has certainly made it more difficult, more complex for everybody. But I still believe this is India's century.
Okay. Since you talk about Ukraine and its impact on global business, China plus one, in the Indian context, certain companies, large companies, are looking at India fresh from a manufacturing point of view, and the Indian government pushing manufacturing in India, the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. Is that going to work? What is ground level feedback telling you?
I think absolutely it is going to work. India, the number of the FDI amount that is coming into India is at record levels. There is a disconnect between perception, particularly in Asian economies like Japan and Singapore. We just did a study. 75% of the 2,000 CXOs that we interviewed were looking to invest in India, but there was a disconnect between perception as to what has changed in terms of ease of doing business in India, particularly with Asian investors, that we need to address.
Puneet, in slightly simpler words, has it changed for the better? Because for the record, the ease of doing business rankings for the country have gone up consistently in the last few years. Yet you hear a lot of people talking about just the sheer difficulty of working on the ground in India. What has changed?
Well, the digitization of customs, for instance, is one such example. I think it's absolutely changed and for the positive. But as I said, perceptions need to change as well. I think the Indian community needs to do a better job explaining the changes, and there is more work to be done.
All the biggest voices for you straight from the World Economic Forum in Davos. We take a very quick break. We'll be back with other news in just a moment.
I'm sure you know of the BTS band, and I know you're crazy about it because they have all my heart too. But do you know what BTS means? It's basically Bangtan Sonyeondan, also known as the Bangtan Boys. Well, they started off in 2010 and had this official debut that featured them in 2013. Let's tell you that it's the Magnificent Seven: S-Jin, Suga, J-Hope, RM, Jimin, V, and Jungkook, who are really ruling the world now with their tunes. In fact, teens are going crazy, not just about the band members, who are really almost of the same teenage, but their looks, their hairstyles, their dressing sense have all taken the teenage world by storm. In fact, Indians have also found idols in BTS. Well, speaking of awards, BTS have won several awards. They've in fact created world records, many of them to their credit. The band's first music album, which started in the year 2013, which was named too cool for school. This album was awarded the New Artist of the Year award and certainly was loved by people world over. BTS is also the first group in history to win Top Song Sales Artist at the Billboard Music Awards and earn 5 consecutive wins for Top Social Artist. Sold over 32.7 million albums on the Gaon Music Chart, BTS is the best-selling musical artist in South Korean history and holds 6 multi-million albums and 5 platinum streaming singles. Speaking of world records, BTS has managed to win a whopping 23 Guinness World Records and their song Butter has won 5 Guinness World Records. And speaking of YouTube views now, well, that song Butter has shattered all records on YouTube. And interestingly, before Butter, it was your song Dynamite which broke all records on YouTube views. What's the reason behind this?
The uninsured have suffered a devastating impact of the pandemic. Have insurance buying trends changed post that? How is the industry approaching it? Our managing editor Siddharth Zarabi caught up with Tapan Singhal, MD and CEO Bajaj Alliance, and Ramesh Iyer, VC and MD Mahindra Finance at World Economic Forum's 2022 in Davos. Listen in.
Your first quick take as the WEF conference has started, what are you really picking up in terms of the business mood within the Indian delegation and perhaps all over?
I think, I attended few sessions, met few people. Clearly, from the timing perspective, I would say this is a great time from a weather point of view. From a business perspective, I would think India is at a great position. As you talk to people, everyone is under pressure, seem to be all over the world.
Aren't we under pressure due to inflation?
I think, that's part of your business decision. But India is a growing opportunity.
So you agree with the RBI's business decision of hiking interest rates?
I don't have a complaint about it.
Okay.
I think
it won't hit your business, won't hit rural consumers.
Let's be fair, right? I mean, they have helped us for a very long time, and the time has come where the consumers have to pick up something. But what is the consumer looking for? If his business gets going, he's doing well, he doesn't mind accommodating this cost. I think the problem, the way we have to see it is, when the going is tough and you bring in these kind of tough measures, it becomes a very big burden on the consumer. So RBI or any decision from the government has helped during that difficult time. Now things are changing. Consumers are back to normalcy. People are earning well. I'm sure their revenues will start growing. I'm sure they'll be more than willing to accommodate.
That's a very interesting take, Ramesh, because one would have imagined that 2 years of the pandemic, the slowdown and what happened to the commercial vehicle business, for example, or across the entire segment that you have a concentration on. And we were hoping that there would be a pickup infra and other businesses. And suddenly you have now the RBI making it clear that interest rates are going to go back up. Isn't that a risk?
I mean, you look at what is the interest increase we are all talking. Let's say a 50 basis point increase has to be accommodated in the system. And look at the asset that
to
they
reach
bought.
pre-COVID, you have to accommodate 125 basis points.
At least to start with, it's now 50 basis point.
Okay.
So let's look at that. If the asset cost is 10 lakh of rupee, what's that 50 basis point on the 10 lakh of rupee? Is that the decision on which somebody is going to decide to buy or not buy? I think if you're already...
Does this apply equally, sorry to interrupt you, equally to the SME space as well, which is obviously more exposed to cost pressures?
I think my take on this is all of us have to become super efficient and we have to save this 50 basis point in some other cost. We somehow think which is more publicly discussed as an item that we think hurts us. But there are a lot of internal costs that even the organizations have to focus on.
Electric two-wheeler scooters, kyun jal rahe hain? Why are they catching fire? Explain this. This is not a question to you. I mean, it's bothering people. Aag lag rahi hai, logon ki bhi jaan gayi hai. What's happening?
See, honestly, I can't answer this on behalf of the OEMs.
No, like I said, not on behalf of them, but generally.
Yeah. So, probably are we little faster to put it in the market for sales before it has been fully tested for its correctness? I don't have an answer, but, look at it from a consumer point of view. There are two angles to this. One is, they buy this with their hard-earned money. And whether they should lose an asset like this and then wait for
and in some cases not get claims because claims are being turned down.
To be, coming in, not coming in, one has to see. The other side is, of course, the health hazard, and related to that, the confidence issue, right? So once you see this happen more often, then people will move away from whether to buy or not to buy kind of a situation. My personal opinion on this, though, is that, there has to be a lot of communication that has to come out to say why this happened and what actions are being taken for this not to repeat.
But Ramesh, why only communications? Let me ask you a direct question. In the traditional automotive segment, India has one of the toughest systems of quality checks, homologation, imported vehicles. I don't even want to get into it. Why isn't there a regulatory architecture for these vehicles? Or am I wrong in even asking this question? Shouldn't the government have thought of this before?
I think they would have thought through, and I'm sure more regulations may come in as well. But ultimately, the fact is that, the safety of people buying is never going to be of any less priority for anybody.
As a leading financer, what do you see happening as far as the electric vehicle space is concerned? Again, this is a broader macro question. From a pricing point of view, do you see an inflection point coming anytime soon?
So very clearly, it will come in, but I still think in the auto industry, when somebody is going to buy a vehicle, some of the first question they are asking is, what is the likely resale price at the end of 3 years? They're still looking at what is the resale price at the end of 3 years. And therefore, all the new introductions, electric vehicle, etc., again, I'll go back to the same thought of communication. It has to be a very collaborative approach from the OEMs, from the distributor, and from the financiers together to say that, okay, how will we protect the resale price at the end of 3 years? Because that's not established yet, and it'll take time to establish. Because cost of operation is well established, right? Cost of operating this vehicle is going to be much lower than operating any other fuel vehicle. So having said that, people will ask this end question to say, okay, I'm buying into something. What will be the resale price of this vehicle? Or what will be the longevity of this vehicle? Okay, can I use it for ever with no resale?
Our managing editor also spoke with Amit Bajaj, President North America TCS, and Saptagiri Chaplapalli, Head of Europe at TCS, on how FY23 will look for IT companies and for TCS amid economic slowdown due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
It's said that in the field of technology, when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. I'm not talking about revenue numbers, but do you see that happening given the economic slowdown, inflation, and the uncertainty that seems to have set in after what's happening with global macro factors?
First of all, from TCS perspective, no, not really, because we have a fantastic business model that is a solution to customers' challenges both in the upturn and in the downturn. So as we call, there's a growth and transformation engine and a cost and optimization engine. So they work across cycles. I think broadly, if I see from a larger perspective, yes, there is concern around rising inflation. There is concern around talent situation. There are some concerns, but customers by and large are committed to the larger technology adoption across industries. So
Amit, a lot of the parents who are listening to this conversation and to all the young people who are building their careers, are studying right now, they would pick up that one point about talent, and we know the headlines there. But Sapta, the same question really, with an additional comment, if you can share. How are things looking from Europe? Because we have a war that's going on, and you see a different kind of economic fallout, especially with regard to energy within Europe. Does that cloud the outlook, or are things, is business going to be as usual?
Like Amit pointed out, all industries are in transition. And Europe, of course, is also having leading companies who are leading this whole revolution. And the good thing about that is this entire transition is powered by technology and digital technology. And most of our customers, whether it's an automotive company, whether it's an energy company, retailer, everyone wants to use more and more technology to transform their business models and go into the future. And that's why we see a significant potential as well as an opportunity for, as well as a responsibility for us to work closely with our customers as they transition into the new industry. Secondly, of course, when it comes to Europe, we do have 2 points that you raised. One is the energy security issue, because we are heavily dependent on the energy from Russia, for example. and there is a rapid move to go to alternate mechanisms, but also to go into more sustainable energy sources. And with regard to the situation in Ukraine, of course, it's a huge humanitarian crisis, and TCS was one of the first companies which stepped in and supported the humanitarian efforts of humanitarian agencies, as well as some of our people who had families there and so on. So I do see that there is no stopping the digital transformation or the digital transformation enabling industries.
That's how we leave it on the show today. Thanks so much for watching.
हमारी कार की